Can you speak about collaborating with Guillermo and Scott on this project?
Yes, I was a huge fan of Scott's from Crazy Heart and all of those. I love his tone, I love his temperament with those stories. And I just thought him doing a horror movie would be so interesting. And pairing up with Guillermo, obviously, he's just an incredible powerhouse and so creative. He was there a lot at the end when we were shooting our monster, and he just has such insight and he has such a detail to storytelling. He obviously has figured something out so well, and he's just an interesting person. He's so alive and creative, and I really enjoyed him.
Can you speak about collaborating with Jesse on this project?
Jesse Plemons?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love Jesse. I know he's not here. He's such a good guy. We had a lot of fun off and on the set. Oh God, I love him as an actor. I love him as a person. I just really love his style of acting. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Well, it's lots of mixed emotions. The film's finally coming out. I'm prepping another film at the same time. Trying to be a present father to my two young daughters, and anytime you release a film out into the world that can be personal in some way, as this is to me, it's always tough. But I'm really, really happy that it's finally releasing and in cinemas, no less.
And how did the source material come to you, the short story?
Well, Guillermo del Toro, the producer of the film, approached me and said, "Your last 3 films have been horror films and nobody knows it. Would you consider directing an actual horror film?" And I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And it was based on Nick Antosca's wonderful short story, A Quiet Boy. And I had the ability to use that as a seed as well as an existing screenplay. And because I write and direct all of my own films, I had to make the film feel very personal to me. So then I started writing it, and Guillermo was there every step of the way, and it was a really incredible process, and not an easy one, I have to say.
And he's such an icon, and he's amazing with VFX, and his company's really fantastic. Can you speak about the VFX process and working with him and his vision?
Yeah, this is my first immersion into the supernatural, and it's. But I wanted to feel like a very grounded experience, and it was really important that the film feel very cohesive, and felt like the Wendigo, the creature at the heart of the film, really existed alongside Kerri Russell and Jesse Plemons and our two young actors. So the Wendigo creature was largely practical, but then we also augmented it with some visual effects, CGI, and that was new for me, but a really great learning experience, and I think it's a terrifying creature.
And what was your initial conversation with Kerri to get her involved? How was that?
Well, Kerri's never easy to bring to a film because she has such a rich home life, and I wanted somebody who could project strength, but compassion, also a sense of vulnerability, and I think she's one of the most truthful actors we have. She never presents a false moment, and she really, I think, elevated the film in ways that I couldn't have hoped. So it was a really great experience.
I just saw Jesse in Power of the Dog, and he's fantastic, such a great actor. Can you speak about collaborating with him?
Well, this is my 3rd film in a row with Jesse. He's going to be in my next one. He's a really close pal of mine, and I wrote the part specifically for him. I think Jesse's one of the best actors of his generation. He's also incredibly relatable. He's an actor who exudes a deep humanity, and I think a lot of people can see themselves in Jesse. And he has such a great look, and he feels like a real person. And if I can find a part for Jesse in every movie, I certainly will.
And speak about casting the young talents in the film.
Yeah, that was incredibly challenging because I think I saw about 900 young actors around the world. And I didn't want an actor for that part. I wanted kids who had never really been on a film set. Kids who didn't come to the set pre-programmed because their parents had coached them how to say their lines, or an acting coach. I wanted kids to be able to listen to the other actors because listening is the most important tool an actor has. And I wanted them to be able to project a certain haunted quality and to elicit compassion and sympathy and empathy. And I think these two young performers and their performances were as good as anything I've seen this year.
And so Halloween is around the corner. Do you have any favorite Halloween movies or spooky movies you enjoy with your family?
Yeah, well, the original Halloween is one of my favorite films for sure, and of course I love Kubrick's The Shining, and I love Ridley Scott's Alien, which was a big influence, The Exorcist. But interestingly, I show my children all of my favorite horror films, and they don't think any of them are scary. They scare me.
Have they seen this one yet?
Oh yeah, they've seen it twice, and because they're real horror aficionados, and invariably anytime I go into their room, all they're watching are horror films, or when they have sleepovers and all their friends. And they seem to really love the film, but I think they'd love anything Dad makes.
Of course. Well, congratulations. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about your role in the film.
Oh, I play the ex-sheriff who knows about the horror behind the thing that lurks in the dark, behind the tree, behind the rock. I'm the scratching in the attic and that sort of thing.
How is collaborating with Scott on this project?
That was fun. It was a great time. He just let us. He was free to do it. He let us be free to do what we thought would add to it.
How is working with Kerri and Jesse and the young actor?
Oh, they were great. It was all a lot of fun. We had fun every day.
Is this your first time working in this genre, or have you worked in this genre before?
Oh no, I've done plenty of horror films. I call them all horror films because they're all horror shows.
What do you love about this genre in particular?
I used to really like horror films, but I don't much anymore. It's just I don't watch a whole lot of television or movies. I'd just rather read or go for a walk and listen to music. So.
How do you pick your projects lately? You've been in so many films. How do you pick your projects?
The only project I turned down is the one that's offered to me.
What's the thought process behind that?
Well, you don't pick your projects; they pick you, and you just say yes or no to it. So.
Tell us about your role in it.
Well, I play the character Lucas, who is kind of helping keep someone alive for a long time before he does something bad. And he has to keep that secret to everyone, but it is found out somehow.
Speak about working with Scott, the director.
Oh, Scott was a lot of fun and really nice. He helped me out through a lot of it. Really kept the pressure down for me.
What was the casting process like? How did you get involved in the movie?
Well, I did one audition, and they really liked it. Then they called me back one time. They really liked me. Then they called me back another time. And then like a month later, they told me I got it. So that was a lot of pressure on me too.
How was working with Kerri and Jesse, two really seasoned actors?
Oh, they were both really fun to work with and really nice. They helped me out some too.
How did you get your start in acting and your passion for acting?
Well, the first thing I was an extra in a movie, and then I just kept doing that, and then I eventually got bored of it, and I wanted speaking roles, so I, got my mom to do that stuff for me, and that's how I really got Antlers.
Do you have any upcoming Halloween plans?
I don't really have anything planned. Not really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Tell me about what originally inspired the short story.
So the short story was originally inspired by my mother's experience as an elementary school teacher in a small town. I grew up, hearing stories about some of her student struggles and some of the haunted stories from the woods nearby and the community. So all that kind of came together in the short story.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from New Orleans, but I grew up at that time in Maryland, like near the Appalachian Mountains.
And so tell me about your horror influences beyond, obviously, your mother's experiences and the rumors of the hauntings. Tell me a little bit about the directors and movies that inspired you, or even writers.
Yeah, I was really inspired by writers like Thomas Ligotti, literary horror writers like Brian Evanson is an example, a guy who I've always been a huge fan of, and of course Stephen King, and Guillermo del Toro. I've always been inspired by his films, so it was such a pleasure that he wanted to work on this.
How did the short story get on their radar to be turned into a movie? How did that happen?
Well, Henry Chaisson and I wrote the spec script based on it, and David Goyer gave it to Guillermo del Toro, and everything went very quickly from there. So just you write a spec script out of pleasure. You never really expect that it'll get made, and so Henry and I were really excited that happened.
That's amazing. And what do you hope audiences take away from the movie? Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I just saw the finished version in Sitges just a week ago, really. I hope that people are scared, and I hope that they have an intense and immersive horror experience.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
I heard you collaborated, and speak about the collaboration process.
Yeah, it was a collaboration that started with Nick's kind of terrific short story that the movie is based on. And I was just a fan of his work and had wanted to initially kind of adapt it as a short film, and it started to grow and grow when we engaged with the kind of Wendigo mythology that ended up being really the spine of the film. So that's, how we started collaborating, and it's been such a kind of terrific experience working with him.
And Guillermo is such an icon, so what is it like to have his fingerprint on this, and what did he bring to it?
It's incredible. Like, you see it very clearly in the film in terms of the creature design and the world building, and obviously his company, Legendary, did all of the creature effects. So it was lovely both to have him on set, but also just to see that kind of magical realism that he brings to such a grounded world that Scott's so good at kind of building. So I think it'll be a really interesting kind of pairing between two artists in that way.
And how did you get your start in screenplay writing?
I've loved kind of horror since I was a child growing up in New England, so I started writing scripts, kind of ghost stories very early on. This was the first kind of feature that I'd collaborated with someone on. And I just love engaging with great source material. So really it started with just being a story that I loved and had read and really felt a connection to. So.
And what's coming up next for you? What do you have in the works?
I'm working on a feature called A Head Full of Ghosts that's based on a book with Veronica Franz and Severin Fiala, who did a film called Goodnight Mommy and The Lodge. And I've been working on a TV show called Servant that's going into its third season now.
Are you one of the writers on Servant?
I'm one of the writers, on the third and fourth season. So that's, again, working with M. Night Shyamalan, like another childhood hero, has been incredible.
That's so cool. We covered and we interviewed M. Night about it, and our team loves that show.
Nice. Oh, great. I'm so glad. It's very, very strange, and it's been like a dream as a writer, because it's short kind of 30-minute episodes that are, just really lean into the kind of weird and strange horror. So, it's been great to kind of move into television as a horror writer.
And what are some of your favorite horror movies as we head into Halloween?
Oh my gosh, I love kind of whenever Halloween comes around, just classic ghost stories like The Changeling with George C. Scott, and obviously films like The Shining that are just very heavy on the atmosphere. It's something about it, but I love the kind of communal experience of watching a horror film with a full audience. I'm very excited to kind of finally see Antlers with a full house, see how people respond to it.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Tell me about your collaboration with Guillermo to produce this project, and what the short story excited you about it.
Well, the short story kind of spoke to us in terms of, not only scary, but, the family issues around it and some of the bigger issues. And then, of course, when Scott became involved, it, became about so much more about, climate and the state of things in the world, really, in North America. So it's just nice to be able to say something sort of bigger than what we thought we were saying. We can entertain, we can scare, but we can also, make people think about it and talk about those kinds of issues that are, happening in the world today.
You're a longtime collaborator with Guillermo. Can you speak about what you admire about him?
Well, I mean, he's just so gifted as an artist and a lovely man. I mean, it's just a pleasure to be able to share those experiences with him. So in this case, he was really, wanting to, Scott doesn't need a mentor, but he really, it's nice to have someone behind you when you need to do something, and knowing that Scott had that support to do what he needed to do. He did it willingly, and we were just there for him if he needed it. And that's what Guillermo in his past also had, mentors who took care of him but didn't interfere. And that's kind of the way that we like to produce, is support the director, be there for them in the way that they need the support, guard things in terms of nobody doing any harm, and let them do their best work. And that's certainly what Scott has done.
And you have another show in development with him?
We have a film called Nightmare Alley that's coming out in mid-December with Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett that Guillermo directed, that we shot through COVID. We started, we stopped, we regrouped, we started again, and now we're just finishing it, so we're very excited about that as well. It's coming out in about 6 weeks.
All right, very exciting. Can't wait. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.